Hey there, Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here. Welcome to day 57 of the Get Your Goals Annual Challenge. Today we're talking about a couple of things. Number one, selecting milestones measurement. We talked about measurement a little bit yesterday. I hope we've decided how we're going to measure whether we're making progress toward our goals or not. And today we're going to talk about what are the key milestones that we want to hit in order to know we're moving in the right direction. Because we'll use those to the next couple of steps in our goal setting process, our goal management, goal achieving, goal getting process. So today we're going to think about what are the milestones? What are the big things, the big, dominoes we need to knock down in order to achieve our emotional goals this year? That's part of our action item. And then the other topic today is emotional decision making. How do we make decisions, and what do our emotions, what part do emotions play in our decision making? Well, scientists have studied and found that our emotions play a huge role in our decision making. We are first and foremost emotional beings, and then we justify everything with logic and reason. And first we make a decision on a subconscious level, and then our conscious mind hops in and starts feeding us reasons why it's a good decision or why it's a bad decision, but it helps us in making decisions. Now, the trick with that is knowing that sometimes our emotions aren't right? Sometimes we have an emotional reaction that's triggered by past experiences or by what's going on around us and how we're feeling. If we're nervous and not in our comfort zone, we're going to make a different decision than if we're feeling confident about the choices and the options we have ahead of us. So I want to share 6 ways to control your emotions and make better decisions. And then we're going to practice. We're going to try this on for size today when it comes to having to make a decision. I don't know about you, but I have to make decisions all the time, every day, right? What am I going to eat for breakfast? Where am I going to go? What am I going to do for exercise? What game am I going to play with my granddaughters? What am I going to do for this business or that business or this situation? So I guarantee you'll get an opportunity to make some kind of a decision or choice today. So let's just try applying these 6 ways and see if applying it makes a difference in terms of us managing and choosing the emotions we want to experience in the decision. Or like some of us, sometimes I just make an emotional decision. It depends on the size of the decision, right? Or the challenge or the problem or the situation, whether we need to go through a process or not. But if we have these processes and tools in our subconscious, we will automatically use them more often than if we didn't have them, right? So what are these 6 ways to control our emotions? And our emotions specifically with respect to making a decision, making a choice, choosing among alternatives, etc. Number 1, know about the science of decision making. Know what role our emotions, our thoughts, our feelings, our beliefs, our past experiences, our current situation, know what all of those, what role they play in how we decide, how you decide, not how I decide, but how, or even how most people decide, because you might have a different tweak or way of doing it. And you just want to understand yourself better. You don't want to understand everybody else in the world, because it's not even possible. So know that there is a science to decision making. There is a process. There's a process that a lot of people follow, and then there's the process that you actually follow. One of the best exercises I've done is to just sit down and actually pay attention to, how do I make decisions? How do I make choices? And I have tweaked that process over the years to make sure that it works out better for me. I used to be like most people. When I was younger, my family had a saying, pop the cork, Sharon. Well, what is that? Or Sherry. They called me Sherry back then. What does that tell you? I used to just react immediately to things on an emotional level. And over the years, I learned that that wasn't necessarily going to give me the best outcome for me in any given situation. So understand that you have a process. Determine and figure out what your process is. And it's usually the same for all types of decisions, right? Something, for example, for me, it used to be something would trigger me and I would react. Now it's something might trigger me and I will pause and say, okay, what's going on here? What's really going on here? How do I want to react and respond to it? Secondly, pause and assess the situation. We have to know what's really going on. We have to give ourselves a chance to absorb what's going on in this situation before we make a decision or a choice. Thirdly, don't always rely on your gut instinct. Now, I talk a lot about the importance of our head, our heart, and our gut or intuition, because I've learned over the decades that whenever I ignore one of those factors or shove it down because I don't want to hear it because I already decided what I want to do and I'm just trying to justify it, I will make a less than best choice for me or less than optimal choice for me in that situation. So this is saying kind of just the opposite. Don't just rely on your gut and your emotions. Make sure you're checking in with, is this the right, decision on on an objective basis, not just on a subjective or on a heart and gut feeling. 4, and I do this a lot, put it into writing. If it's a bigger thing and a bigger decision or choice that you have to make, write it down. At least use a decision-making tool. And we'll talk about this a couple times this year, I guarantee it. The plus and minus decision-making tool. Like, take a piece of paper, you put a line down the middle, plus on one side, minus on the other. Decision-making, if you want, you can write it on the top, what you need to make a decision about. And then write down all the advantages under the plus sign, all the disadvantages that you see under the minus sign. And that helps you to get it out and weigh and actually be a little more fair and impartial in your choice of what you're going to do in this situation. So put it in writing, write it down. To me, writing things down always helps. You don't have to keep it. You can burn it, you can trash it, you can throw it away, but it just helps me get all the craziness in my brain on paper. Number 5, narrow your options. Now, a lot of times I talk about in the SOAP framework, and we talk about that every month, we want to get as many options out as possible. And that's because as humans, we tend to think in absolutes. We tend to think of it's this or that. We tend to think of, okay, I only have a couple options, or I don't have any options. And so I'm always pushing us to come up with more options. But what we want to do as we're honing in on and making a decision is narrow down those options. Okay, take your brainstorm list and then start crossing out all the unrealistic, don't have the reasons for, don't want to do type things, and get those off your list. So you're narrowed down. And usually what we do is I say brainstorm 10, choose 3, and then we're going to analyze those 3 options to see which is the best thing for you to do right now. Not, you might use, and I do this all the time, I do all 3 things, or sometimes I do all 10 things to get to the ultimate outcome that or goal that I want. But what am I going to do right now is the question that we're trying to answer. Number 6, consider the short-term and the long-term implications and impact and results and possible consequences of the decision that you're making, right? It's so easy to make a decision, make an emotional decision, and just react or respond to something right off the back on a gut level. And that makes us feel better in the short term, right? Because we made a decision, we did something, and we took action. But we didn't necessarily consider the consequences of that short-term action. If we'd just taken a couple of seconds to breathe and think about, okay, short-term, this is the impact, I feel better. Long-term, I feel way worse because I've destroyed a relationship, or I've made a choice that isn't right for me, etc. And finally, 7, check back with the results that you get from the decision that you made. Make a decision and don't go through, analysis paralysis and never make a decision. Make a decision, take the action, and then know what the results are. Knowing that, you can always take another action. You can always change your mind. You can always go back and do something different, right? Again, so often we think that we're locked into a decision or a road that we go down, and we absolutely positively aren't. It's just a false belief telling us that, well, once I decide this, I have to stay here forever. And I was the queen of that. I spent 25 plus years in a relationship that I knew was wrong for me virtually at the beginning. And that's really, really sad. And it was a very long lesson learned. So many good things came out of it, but also a lot of lessons that I probably didn't have to learn the hard way. So today, try this on for size. Think about your process. Pause and assess the situation. Don't rely just on your gut. Remember, head, heart, intuition. Put it in writing. Write down what you're trying to decide. Narrow your options. Consider the short-term and long-term consequences of your choices and reactions and actions, and then check back on the results and loop it around and keep doing it so you are continually improving your decision-making process on all levels, not just on an emotional level. All right, that's it. Today we're going to identify our milestones for our emotional goals this year, and then we are also going to try this on with a decision today. Just try it on with a little decision. It doesn't have to be a great big decision. What am I going to eat for breakfast would be a good one because it's quick and easy. Write it on a piece of paper or a Post-it note. What am I going to eat for breakfast? Write down your options, pick one, and then eat it and then see how you feel after you ate it, right? All right. Have an awesome day. If I can help any more detail with this, hit me up. Otherwise, I'll be with you tomorrow. Of course, I will put under Guide 17 in the Get Your Up and Go Challenge private Facebook group. And all you have to do is answer the 3 questions. One is say you won't spam, share your email so that I know you won't spam. And I can't remember what the other questions are, but there's 3 questions when you join the group. And I guess that's the minimal entry level for participation in a group where you can get a ton of information. There's 17 guides. So there's all the different challenges in there from 2020 and 2021, the Get Up and Go Challenge, 30+ day challenges. There are a couple of units on no nonsense Novembers that I've done in the past. And last year's annual challenge. The whole thing is in there under Guide 15. This year's annual challenge, Guide 16, the Get Your Goals annual challenge. Last year was the BU 365-day challenge. And then under Guide 17, I'm trying something new this month where I'm doing a write-up. And I admit it, I'm using ChatGPT to have an artificial intelligence write a little segment. I have not edited them. I barely skimmed over them. So I know there's errors in it. So don't get all bent out of shape on that. I'm just trying to decide if I want to use a tool to help me do write-ups alongside the videos or don't want to just transcribe the videos. I kind of ramble and talk a lot, so maybe I don't want to do that. All right. Ask if you need help. Otherwise, I'll be with you tomorrow.